make me go to rehab. I won't go.
What a cool song. And what a voice, 23-year-old singer. First, I couldn't believe when I hadn't seen Amy yet that it came from little white Amy Winehouse. People say she has a bit of an old soul jazz singer inside of her, and Amy herself says that she's an old Jewish man. Whatever she is, she has got it, and a lot of people are going wild over the music of Amy Winehouse. They're attracted to her sound, and in discussing this with people on Amy forums over the last couple of weeks, they're also very attracted to her sentiment. They tried to make me go to rehab. I said, no, no, no. Yes, I've been black, which is synonymous with depression for her. She's manic depressive. Yes, I've been black, but when I come back, you won't know, no, no. I ain't got the time, and if my daddy, her boyfriend, thinks I'm fine, he's tried to make me go to rehab, and I won't go. Studying the life and times of Amy Winehouse, I've learned that nobody tells Ms. Winehouse what to do or who to be. The sentiment behind the song Rehab, that one little excerpt, the whole song, is the epitome of Amy's approach to life. I don't care what anybody thinks. Somebody sent me an email this week, just articulated it beautifully, but basically the thought, this is her. I don't care what anybody thinks or says about me or expects or demands, usually with expletives attached. I'm going to do what I want, whenever I want, however I want. This is who I am, take it or leave it. Another friend emailed me and said, I'm getting the impression that Amy Winehouse is who most of us would be if we stripped away all of the things that make us seem okay, together and nice. All the things our generation was told that we were supposed to be. Supposed to be is not in the life lexicon of Amy Winehouse, the way I'm reading it. I mean, a person is not supposed to treat their lives that way. A person's not supposed to dress that way or take drugs that way or walk off stage drunk during performances that way or out of interviews that way or treat her fans that way. But it seems Amy will have none of that. Don't put that on me, seems to be her prevalent attitude. And I have to admit, in getting to know her a little bit from a distance, that part of me really resonates with that in her. Part that doesn't want to be unduly or unfairly yoked with somebody else's expectations of who I'm supposed to be. The rugged individuality of that, and the don't control me-ness of that. Who wants to capitulate to the mandates of the man, you know? See, Amy wasn't at the MTV Music Awards like all these other people who, man, I watched the MTV, okay? Sort of the anti-man statement. And everybody there is doing the consumerism gig and the self gig and the corporate gig, all under the guise of being hip and cool and rock stars. It's a joke. They handed out awards for quadruple threat, you know? You were a great musician, you sold clothes, you had a business, and I forget what the fourth one was. And I went, this is so pathetic. Amy didn't even show up to the show, and they didn't pick her to win a prize either. So part of me resonates with the realness and the authenticity, the direct, honest, this is who I am way of living. That's free. It's the way rock and roll was always meant to be, right? So part of the yearning is a good thing, but another part watches it, and maybe a few years beyond Amy, a lot of years beyond Amy, and looking back at those times in life, says there's something about the rebellion that can be a bit too much, too self-oriented, too me. And looking at the parable of her life and some of the tragedies, especially this past month that have played out, I wonder if her pursuit of authenticity and freedom and being real is going to even come close to really getting her there. And the Spirit of Christ hovers over the face of the earth and looks at her and looks at that part of her in you and sees. Apostle Paul wrote in a letter to the Romans, chapter 6, "You know well enough from your own experience that there are some acts of so-called freedom that destroy freedom." That Bible verse just grabbed me a few weeks ago. In the context of studying Amy, these acts of so-called freedom that actually destroy freedom, that seem to be an articulation of exactly what was happening in her life. Things that we do because we think we're going to free ourselves, but actually end up enslaving us and doing the exact opposite. You're probably not a huge hit singer doing it the way Amy does it, but you might resonate with these kinds of things you do, these choices you make that you think are, this is what I'm going to do, that end up taking away from who you really are. The Apostle Paul is making that statement in the context of a larger dialogue in the book and in that chapter where he's been talking about God's grace. And grace, this infinite, accepting, embracing, merciful love that holds you not because you're good enough, not because you behave a certain way, that holds you because you're you and loves you for who you are. No matter what mistakes you make, no matter how great you are, just loves you. And some people are responding to Paul's message of grace by saying, well, then I can go out and do whatever I want if God's going to forgive me and be merciful no matter what happens. And Paul's going, no, that's cheapening grace. That's not what grace really is. You've changed lives when you enter into the grace equation. You don't have to live that way anymore. And you ought not be inspired to want to go mess up more if you've really changed addresses and changed your MO.